It's January, and in 48 hours, we're going to get the storm of the year. I mean, in quotes, oftentimes the weather weenies don't exactly get that all dialed in. And fun fact, your government, your fearless uh, and incomparable leader, Donald J. Trump, has slashed so much money out of NOAA and other agencies responsible for tracking weather emergencies. I think that it was, 15 minutes after he slashed the budget that those floods happened in that camp in Texas. The overflowing of the river and loss of life, and and of course the miseries and disasters will come, and they compound because RFK Jr., when he makes decisions that affect children as for vaccines and other recommendations about infant health, then the discussions will inevitably turn more to infant mortality. But with that cheerful introduction, what I was really jumping on for right at this moment was to talk a little bit about it as a love letter to Jack Smith. I don't often write love letters to men. I have written one to an 80-year-old judge in this on this platform in this format before on this pod. Um, and Jack Smith, if you didn't watch any of his testimony, that hearing was he demanded a public accounting of the way that he was treated and the way that Congress represented his earlier testimony. And so that should be important. If you did watch, you will have seen the profound disappointment of some of the representatives from the Capitol Police when the one of the reps from Texas was coming up with absolute Trump level lying bullshit about where the accountability for J6 lies, and he was blaming it on administrators. What he wanted to say, because he's a batshit racist Texas Republican rep. If he wanted to probably blame it on, BLM, MLK, and anything else that he possibly could, uh, uh, Juneteenth, any other thing. They're all, many of them are just that kind of guy. Jim Jordan, who kind of led the attack against Jack Smith. This video essay is called, my friends call me Jack. You can call me Mr. Smith, because Republicans, not surprisingly, showed almost zero dignity in the way that they handled what is a very important matter, and they made it a partisan exercise. And I realize that their idol, Donald J. Trump, the Massengill Mussolini himself, his feelings are hurt. And the representatives, if they don't display for the Fox News cameras and other conservative commentators that they are as aggrieved as the president, the embarrassment from Davos, who hadn't returned by that time, then they get beaten up by their MAGA base for not standing up for the brave president. They get a lot of heat and shit. So they're out there. Not that they wouldn't act like fools of their own accord, but they are motivated by fear, perhaps. Jim Jordan and Daryl Issa, don't call me Isa, who from representative from California, Republican representative from California, which will be a dying breed. Um, if the if Donald Trump was the most notorious visitor to Davos this past week, then Gavin Newsom was kind of the star of the show in a lot of ways because he went straight at everything. He went straight at the hypocrisy, the silliness, Trump's behavior, the behavior of other senators that were in attendance, the behavior of business leaders in the US and their hypocrisy. He was just whipping out the knee pad comments and the criticism against all of these sanctimonious I can't say that. All these sanctimonious bastards that were there at Davos. Now, I do want to give praise, as I did in the feed earlier, to one man that carefully sort of straddles the middle road, Jamie Dimon, who CEO of one of the world's largest and most consequential companies, JP Morgan Chase, right? He said out loud with a camera on him that he was disappointed at the level of violence on American streets with the ICE and immigration enforcement. He said that unambiguously. He's the first senior corporate leader that I can recall that has been that vociferous in such a on such a large stage to take that. Jamie Dimon is always he's a he I what is he does he make $100 million a year? I don't know. I don't have that right at hand. He, Jamie Dimon makes a lot of money and deserves to make a lot of money because their job is to make money for shareholders. And he is thought of as a more than okay boss. He's a good leader. He's a good politician. He's a good fundraiser. He does a lot of things well. And he has donated to both parties over the years. He's been there for a long time. But for him to take that sort of principled stand was so welcome. It made me, when you have to really search for, current times for light in the darkness and that sort of support from business with all of the tech bros just laying down, taking their skivvies off, and letting DJT do as he might. It was encouraging to see such a high profile, serious, and esteemed senior business leader, take a principled stand and not hedge it, but to say it like a big boy with big boy pants. Not to gender, you know what I mean, like an adult. And he happens to be an XY, a member of that lesser XY grade of human. So cheers to him. But back to Jack and his opening remarks were fantastic. I'll publish a couple little clips, if not clips, at least parts of his statement because it was right on point, and that he felt compelled to stand up because rule of law is at risk. Now, the real magic about Jack Smith, I hate him because he's younger than I am, and he's brilliant and successful, and he rides marathon. He rides like he's on the bike for hundreds of miles. He got run over by a car, had his knees were put back together with a staple gun, and he couldn't wait to get back in the office after he was run over by a car because it was his patriotic duty to stand up and do something. He must have been in so much freaking pain, secondhand. I don't know, Jack. People have told me I don't know Jack for my entire life, but he was reportedly in so much pain and refused, in most instances, to take any pain medications because it would dull his intellect, his ability to do his job. So he was just miserable and in pain. And he was magnificent yesterday. We're lucky to have him. When you put him up against, the Eileen Cannons of the world, it's not a fair fight. When you put his intellect up against Pamela Joe Bondi, no contest. We're fortunate to have him, and I just hope he stays uh, forward leaning and vocal until DJT is driven out of Washington D.C. So, cheers to Jack. The one, and if you dig deep enough, you can find a gem, um, precious minerals. In his earlier life, he prosecuted sex crimes in the New York City DA's office. And he also worked on war crimes. He wasn't prosecuting under the auspices of the ICC, which will become important later in Donald Trump's life, but he was in The Hague on a special panel that handled war crimes specific to Kosovo. And those were particularly heinous, and many of those war crimes were against um, minority groups that were Muslim minority groups that were under tremendous pressure. And so he served with such tremendous distinction at The Hague, and it made him into the prosecutor, into the American that he is today. But for somebody to be Donald Trump's moral nemesis, to have prosecuted sex crimes in New York and war crimes in The Hague is a wonderful parallel, because of course the only place, if it ever happens, and chances are it won't, that the because of the absolute buffoonery of our Supreme Court and the John Roberts Court, and John Roberts in particular, and his slavish just so many words I have to cancel because they're in bad taste. I'm sorry. If his slavish adherence to the belief that executive power needs to be enhanced in every possible way and defended, it led us to Trump v. US and where we are today. And that's a direct result of John Roberts, who we thought was going to be this guy very concerned about, selfishly, about his personal legacy. Great man. That's okay. That's It's America. You can still want to be great. There's no shame. You freaking Republican folks. There, I'm not saying that you shouldn't earn money, that you shouldn't get the all of the acclaim that you deserve for your outstanding performance. But John Roberts, we also thought that he was concerned about the legacy of the Supreme Court, and clearly we were misinformed, to put it politely. We were misinformed. He's thrown that out the window. Sam Alito, who should be tendering his resignation shortly. So Donald J. Trump, they should probably, if they're going to do it, they should get to it, because if when the House flips, that obviously is done in a different chamber, as far as the confirmation process for a new Supreme Court justice. Don't leave any pubic hairs on your Coke can. Pro tip. Okay. But Clarence, and if strategically, Clarence and Alito should graciously step aside so Trump can find a 14-year-old wonderkind far to the right of Attila the Hun that is a legal genius to replace them with. So there will be, 50, 60 more years of silliness. So um, I just, I'm eternally grateful to Jack Smith before today, particularly for his performance yesterday and his previous testimony, which we only saw in print. But thank goodness for him and his courage and his you know you know f f you come and get me uh, uh, posture in this whole thing, which is refreshing, and Democratic Party representatives and senators need to emulate that particular stance because the rudeness being it's part of the program, but it's unsettling to the process. So, and I'm not advocating for the Republicans to, excuse me, for the Democrats to respond in kind to the Republicans' disgrace of the House, of the Senate, by allowing the testimony of the Pam Bondi testimony, for instance, which was disgraceful to herself, but to the institution. I would not, it's not uh, Michelle Obama. They go low, we go high. We're dealing with bottom feeders here. We're dealing with scumbags, right? Um, and so we have to not, while we don't want to get to their level, we have to keep an eye on what their level is at all times because we need to meet them without sinking to their level. It's a delicate game, and we don't want to be too Democratic Party, niceties above all else. Rule of law matters, but we need to win. So getting more candidates like Ms. Spamberger, former intelligence officials, former military, right? We need more candidates like that can that can fight back with dignity from a position of standing. So, anyways, that was fun. That was Jack Smith. That was a guy that we should. If your son or daughter is thinking about going to law school and they're wondering if it's worth it, then talk about Jack Smith and let them read about the, the types of people that he convicted and put away, people that guilty of sex related crimes, trafficking and otherwise, and people guilty of the most heinous. It's cold out. Sorry, mouth freezing, war crimes. Some of the worst known to humanity in Srebrenica and other places in the former Serbia. So, uh, if they want to emulate somebody, you've got young kids, grandkids that are curious about where do I find meaning in life? What can I do? You could have much worse examples than Jack Smith. That's John Smith, but Jack to his friends, and Mr. Smith to the entire Republican Party, and your boy Massengill Mussolini. Thank you. Have a great day today.